When I was younger, event Pokemon frustrated me. In case you don't know, ever since Pokemon Red and Green, there have been event-exclusive Pokemon. That's right, mythical Pokemon you could not obtain simply by finding them in your game. Over the years, you've had to physically go to limited-time events, engage in promotional sales, or have access to the internet during a specific time to get some very special creatures. These weren't simply any old Pokemon either. We're talking about Mew, Jirachi, Darkrai, Arceus, just to name a few. These are some guys that are valuable not just due to their rarity, but also their base stats and learn sets. Like I said before, I was not a fan of this concept as a child. You only had one, sometimes a few more, opportunities to gain access to the mythical Pokemon. If you missed that chance, you could never legitimately get one of your very own event Pokemon. Of course, you potentially could cheat one in. However, as anyone who's ever used a Game Shark or Action Replay knows, it's wildly unsatisfying. Oh, you caught a level 100 shiny Jirachi with one of your 99 Master Balls? Cool, man. Why on earth would I be trying to defend this? Game Freak prohibits you from getting some of the coolest Pokemon by making access to them depend on your real-life agency? Well, let me illustrate two possibilities for you. I'll start with the possibility I'm sure most of us can relate to. You don't get the event Pokemon. Either you're playing a new Pokemon game and you missed the event, or you're playing an older Pokemon game and you know the event is long gone. Sorry, no mythical Pokemon for you. You live a tragic life. You will forever have a suboptimal gaming experience in this save file. Or will you? See, in the Pokemon games, you get to do a lot. You're a child and you generally take down criminal organizations, you beat the region's gyms, you meet the box art legendary, and you become champion of the region. Along the way, you beat every single trainer you come across. You even got access to the rare starter Pokemon, setting you apart from the other early trainers who only had the regional bird, shitty normal type, and bugs. You're a pretty special snowflake as it is. After kicking ass across the region and generally enjoying the lifestyle of a protagonist, you notice something. Your Pokédex is incomplete. You've been all over, yet you're missing a handful of critters. Turns out they're not available in your version of the game. Guess you'll have to trade with your friend who has the other version. After all, they're probably in the same situation. A harsh reality sets in. Pokémon is an immensely popular franchise, and you're not the only kid to beat the Elite Four. You and your peers cannot 100% this game alone, and you have to rely on each other. Now, the whole issue of version-exclusive Pokémon and trait evolutions is a similar but distinct topic. I won't get into that right now. My point is that this is the life of a Pokémon trainer. Everyone can play the game, but not everyone gets to be the singular best. The game may have made you feel like a bit of a Mary Sue, the unparalleled center of the universe, for a while, but this was never the case. It was never supposed to be the case. In real life, there will always be unturned stones. You will never be perfect, and there will always be more room to grow and more to discover. That's part of what makes life interesting. Mythicals help maintain this feeling in Pokemon. This feeling of yearning for something and having something to shoot for is preserved, for better or for worse. And even if you do have a friend to trade with, or enough resources to trade with yourself, your Pokédex is still incomplete. You know there's at least one more little guy out there that you could theoretically catch. Your friends talk about it, it's depicted in other Pokemon media, it's real. Right? Well, it's mythical. It's so rare that some people might doubt its existence. This has two effects. Firstly, in-game, this mythical Pokemon is set apart from other rare Pokemon. Sure, there are the 1% encounters, there are Pokemon you only come across once, but even for you, the top-tier trainer of your save file, there's a Pokemon you haven't even seen in the flesh, never mind caught and nicknamed something silly. This gives the mythical a distinct level of rarity in-game, that even surpasses one-time unbreedable encounters. It also limits you. You don't get guaranteed access to every deity-level Pokemon. There are boundaries to your power despite being the protagonist. Secondly, mythicals are extra valuable and mysterious among your peers, your nerdy friends on the playground. You and your buddies will all likely get to the point where you can throw a Master Ball at the box art legendary. If you haven't gotten there yet, your friend can tell you that you're close and you'll get there eventually. The thing is on the cover of the game after all. All of you will be bringing Giratina to battle each other at some point. With the event Pokemon though, it's likely that none of you will ever have it. One of your friends might tell you that you have to use strength 50 times on the truck to get Mew. Don't you know that if the man in the Moss Deep Space Center tells you they've successfully launched a certain number of rockets, you can go to space to fight Deoxys? Or, Jirachi, or both? Depending on how gullible you are as a child, tall tales like that and many others inspire you to do everything you can to get your hands on the elusive Pokémon. Yeah, you tell yourself. Using strength on the truck is a stupid lie for stupid babies. Real men beat the Elite Four in Fire Red 200 times, revealing all of Lorelei's plushies, and then... maybe something is triggered that makes Mew appear... somewhere. The playground theories get your brain churning. After all, Game Freak is no stranger to quirky encounter rules. Don't believe me? Look up How to Catch Feebas and Hoenn. Knowing that it's within the realm of possibility that the event Pokemon are trapped somewhere behind some vague prerequisite or RNG invites you to search for it. So, the mythical status has two effects. The next level rarity sets a limit on your in-game power that you can't overcome through just story progression or patience for an uncommon encounter. It also feeds into the social culture of Pokemon. The mystification of an elusive Pokemon, the rumors, the uncertain hope that you might be able to get your hands on it, somehow, some way. That is one possible fate when it comes to event Pokemon. The much less relatable, though plausible possibility is that you get the coveted special dude. You fulfilled whatever prerequisite was required to get your hands on a mythical. You went somewhere in person, you bought a movie ticket, you had Wi-Fi at the right time. Remember all that stuff I said before about how no one is really the center of the universe in Pokemon? I lied. That's you. You're the actual main character of the world of Pokemon. You must be, after all. You had the dedication to do something in the real world, where there are things way more important than Pokemon, in order to get a truly special critter. Maybe you can go show off your mythical Pokemon to your friends. They're gonna be so jealous. In fact, you should battle them with this newfound power that's been divinely bestowed upon you. I bet you're gonna... Oh. It's kinda weird seeing a mythical faint, especially against some mundane, mortal opponent. See, that's the thing about these Pokemon. They're not simply win buttons. Maybe against the majority of battles you fight against NPCs, they are. That being said, you can get to a similar level of power in the Pokemon games without any mythicals. You don't even need legendaries. Good base stats, good learn sets, and good strategies can be found in many forms. Hey, maybe your lowly friend who didn't get the event Pokemon is better at the actual strategy of the game than you. Maybe they simply got lucky with good IVs on their Pokemon or good RNG in the fight. There are multiple reasons that event Pokemon are not totally untouchable. As much as Game Freak likes to make some Pokemon appear godlike, sometimes literally, there is no single one that is perfect in all situations. Don't misunderstand me, these guys are formidable in battle. They're simply imperfect. Let's be honest, having a Pokemon that one-hits literally every and any opponent is about as much fun as that level 100 shiny Jirachi in an illegitimate Master Ball I mentioned earlier. You don't want that. The joy you get from that level of power is wildly fleeting. That's why you probably stopped playing most Pokemon games. You become the champion, you do some fun stuff in the post-game, and then you find yourself with an insanely beefy team with no challenges left. Unless you want to fight at the Battle Frontier for a little bit, there's really nothing to do with your now over-leveled party. So, having unstoppable power is really not what you're looking for. If event Pokemon aren't gods though, what are they? Rip-offs? Scams? You got one of the rarest creatures available, and it isn't guaranteed to kill everything? Well, yes, but it still has value. It has value in filling the otherwise impossible spot in the Pokédex, because Pokemon is about collecting as much as it is about battling after all. I don't know about you, but I always love getting to see a new back sprite from a recently obtained Pokemon. It's one thing to see it in media or encounter it in your game, but to see it on your side, at your command, for the first time, always feels special. Event Pokemon also have some real-life value. First of all, that part about your friends being jealous is likely true. They definitely want the mythical Pokemon. It is legitimately pretty cool to have a supremely rare collectible, whether it's a physical item in real life or if it's just something in a video game. You then also get the ability, and one might say, the moral obligation to trade it with your friends so they can fill up their Pokédex entries too. Just make sure you trust them though. You might want to have some blackmail ready in case anyone decides to not trade back immediately. On top of all that, the event Pokemon will be a souvenir of sorts. You can look at that little sprite and remember the very first time you saw it on your own screen. You can remember the anticipation right before you got it, you can remember where you were in your life at that time. You can remember the very moment you became better than everyone else. This is the role of event Pokemon. In a game that encourages collecting and puts some emphasis on rarity, the collection is largely feasible. Most players can fill up the vast majority of their Pokédex simply by playing the game, having modest patience, and maybe doing a little bit of research. Event Pokemon add a distinct hiccup along the journey though. If you don't manage to get the event Pokemon, it reinforces that you are not the singular trainer in the world, and you're not guaranteed to have every god tier Pokemon simply by advancing the game's plot. This is intentional. It foments a culture of rumors, speculation, and community. If you do actually get the event Pokemon, you get an exciting moment, a bit more game content, and a coveted entry in your Pokédex, all without having game-breaking power over anyone who missed out. So, while event Pokemon definitely irked me back in the day, I've really come to appreciate what they bring to these games.